Hello everybody, I'm gonna be talking about Ruby on Rails today, of course. So my name is Augustin. I'm working on a project called Copas, which is built on Ruby on Rails, and I'm gonna share you my experience on working on a project for 6 months for you to have weapons for when you're gonna develop yours. So my problematic was like, if we were to start over with Copas, what are the good choices we'd keep and lessons we'd learn, like what I'd like of the choices I made and what I could have done better. And I'm gonna study this in 3 points. Like, first step is bootstrapping, so having your code base running something on your local environment, then going to production, and then third step will be scaling. I'm gonna be focusing more on the bootstrapping part, which is probably the one that interests you the most, because as long as you don't have anything in production, you don't really care about scaling. And also the presentation content will be very dense, and there are many links, but I did that on purpose so that then you can have the document, the presentation, and you go back to it later and go check the links and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what about bootstrapping? So I guess most of the tools we used, you guys used it also, and that's fine. But so I'm telling you what I'm happy with. So PostgreSQL is really good. Like, having the SQL structure helps you a lot, especially with Active Record. So at the moment they're talking a lot about NoSQL things like MongoDB and things like that, but it makes things harder. So at first you really want to take it easy. Bootstrap, jQuery, I guess you know. Precompiled languages like Haml, CoffeeScript, and Sass. I don't know if you already use them, but they are really nice because they make you write less and code more, pretty much. And also Markdown, but I'm gonna talk about Markdown later. Debugging tool that is really good is called Better Errors. I don't know if you ever used it, but you have to because it helps. For authentication, using Device is a really good gem, but I guess you used it already. I don't know. Of course, Git, GitHub, Stack Overflow, all of that you know. But on the other hand, there are things that I learned. So like applying the REST structure. So I don't know if you have any information about what REST is, but like, it's a best practice, and at first you don't really want to use it, but you will eventually realize it's necessary. Also respect the MVC structure, but I'm not gonna talk more about it. When you're gonna improve your Ruby skills, you're gonna find many Ruby tricks, as Ruby is a very modular language, and that's pretty nice. I'm gonna be talking about the DB related gems, but so let's keep it for later. We had some troubles with the multi-step sign-up. Like, basically the idea is that you really should have a one-step sign-up, which is get the basic info, so name, email, and blah, blah, blah. And then you have the guy, and then you can be in touch with him so that if he doesn't go further into the steps, you can still reach him and tell him to fill the data. You should avoid, I don't really like front-end gems like the Bootstrap gem, jQuery gem, things like that, because at the end they're just taking you memory in your environment, but they don't bring so much interest in terms of following the version of your library. So you'd rather take the JavaScript file, for instance, for jQuery on the website and put it in your project instead of using a gem, my opinion. And you should name things as much as possible, but I guess you've been told that a lot of times, like don't use this kind of fake IDs, like, okay, this one is gonna mean the guy registered, 2 is gonna mean it's got this specific plan, and blah, blah, blah. You'd rather use strings and things like that. Anyway, let's go further. So I don't know if you know Markdown, but this is really good, and you can actually include that into your Rails project pretty easily with a gem, which I actually didn't write. I will add it later. But it's really nice because it allows you to separate the content from the logic. So Markdown you used it already without being aware of it, like it's on GitHub, on Stack Overflow, so if you ever posted something or wrote something there, you used it. And the idea is that just by writing plain text, you're actually writing HTML. So I don't know if you can read hardly, but basically a title would be just writing the things and then adding dashes in the next line, which looks like a title. Bolding will be surrounding with stars your word. A link will be like just the word and then the link. So it's pretty readable, and the good thing is that if you have some people working on the content and some people working on the dev and the logic, then these guys can edit their file without safely, like they won't crash the code and blah blah blah, and they can change the typo and all these things, and then you integrate it to your project, and that's all done at once. So that's really nice. The better gem, so you know it already, right? So I'm gonna skip this. Okay, a quick fact on the REST structure. So as I was saying, this is quite important, and so there is a lot of literature over this subject in the internet. You probably don't want to read many things about it, you don't need it right now, but I really encourage you to be aware of the difference between a GET request, a POST request, a PUT request, and a DELETE request. Because this, if you don't apply it at first, you could regret it later. And so just like basic idea is you should use GET when you're fetching data, so it's only reading data and not writing data. And you're not actually changing any value. Whereas you should use POST request when you're creating an object, PUT request when you're editing an object, and DELETE request when you're deleting an object. And that's actually fairly easy, and if you do it from the beginning, then it will be done. Whereas if you put it to later, then it will be all around your code, and it will be a pain to change it. So yeah, why you should do it? I think it's because, well, first, you're sure you all respect the same convention with your team. So basically, if someone is doing something and then you can't access it easily, well, it's all about work with team. But it's also keeping your router clean, and your router is a file you want to have very straight for understanding your project. But it's also like the biggest problem I had with this is that if you use GET for creating objects, for instance, then some people, they could send GET requests like many times, like say they have the tab open in their browser, and then they close their browser, and then they reopen it. It will send the request again, and if it's creating something, if it's actually doing an action on the website, then the action will be done several times, and that's actually not what you want. Whereas the POST and the PUT request, it doesn't behave the same way. The browser knows the difference. So that's actually the main technical reason. And also at some point, if you want to have some API, you should respect this structure because that's a best practice for it. And then if you have someone working on the front-end app or like using your API, it will understand straight what's going on. Another very important thing is about database-related gems. So, like I guess you, like me, like everybody, we use a lot of gems to get to the point really fast at the beginning. Like you feel, oh, I can use device for authentication, I can use this, it's already plugged, and blah, 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 and this is so nice. I'm having a product almost ready very quickly, but there are some gems I really don't recommend to use, and that's the one that are actually creating database relationships. So maybe it's easier if I take an example. So the friendship, there is a gem called Amistad, which handles friendship between your users. So, hey, cool, I need some friendships in my app, like many apps do, and it's already there, and I just need to plug in, and then I have methods already set, like, okay, I had a friend, blah, blah, blah. So it's really nice, but then your app changes, it grows, and oh, you need to change something. Like, I won't have a friendship suggestion level, a friendship suggestions or a notification level. Like, for this guy, I want to see him when he's moving, whatever. But anytime you want to add something into your friendship table, you can't anymore because it's in a gem, so it's separated from your base code. And you're actually screwed. You have to double the table to manage them in parallel and make sure it's consistent, and it's a pain in the ass, really. But so my suggestion, if you want to do it or if you've already done it like me, is to go get the gem as fast as possible, to fork it and to use your own version, and to work on the gem as if it were your own code base. So like I said, if I need a notification level, then I will add the notification level to the gem, even if it's a gem, so it's supposed to be a black box and I don't want to change it so much, but go for it because otherwise you're screwed. Okay, now next step would be going to production. So at some point you need to deploy over the internet and have real users, and that's exciting. So I really recommend, but I guess you've heard that, using Heroku for hosting your Rails app, because it can be free at the beginning, and it's very scalable, and it's got many advantages. And S3 for hosting static files like pictures and all these kind of things. So there are gems that communicate with S3 pretty nicely, and also it's relatively cheap and can be free at the beginning. So, I mean, it's a good way to get started and experiment. Then there is a nice gem called PG Backups Archive, which it's actually creating a new app on Heroku, which is plugged to your database, and it's doing the backup and saving it to S3. Just everything's automated, so at the end you have a backup system for free, because this app is just doing this simple job, so it's for free, and then it's stored in S3, so even if the Heroku backup system has a problem, you still have your own, and you can download it in a local environment, so if you want to store it and securize it somewhere, you can. We've been using deploy hooks for deployment, and we're really happy with that. So basically what it does is just when we push to Heroku, we receive a mail with the list of the commits that were pushed to Heroku. And the good thing with that is that if you have a team that is in charge of a team, like testing and all about knowing when the feature is ready, then it's just a mail, and you know pretty easily what's going on and what's been updated and what should be tested and blah, blah, blah. So it's super easy to set up, and it's really useful. We use a tool called Negative Captcha for spam prevention, and I really like it, but I'm going to be talking about it later. And for maintenance, so basically making sure your app is still up and everything's working fine, there is two tools we use. One is exception notification, which actually is about sending an email when someone has a crash in production, so then you know it and you can fix it very quickly, and then like if you get spammed, it means it's urgent, whereas if it's just one mail, sometimes maybe it's not too urgent. And another good one is Deadman Snitch. It's a web service that actually does something really smart. Like you have a background job, say the backup I was talking about, and it's just executing a command at the end of the backup that sends a request to their website, and if the request was sent, then it means the process went till the end, so the backup was fine. So it's just telling you, okay, your backup is doing good, just by sending you an email, which is really easy. So you don't need like 5 people always checking what's going on, if your app is up and blah, blah, blah. Something that could be better, and I hope I will implement it in the future, is to use Paperclip as a service. So I don't know if you ever used Paperclip, but I realized like if you want to upload pictures on Heroku, then your whole Heroku app is blocked with this user uploading this picture, and if the picture is pretty big, Heroku has a limit of 4 megabytes, but still, it can take some time if the connection is bad and everything. And so you want to use a web service that actually sends the picture to this web service. The web service does the image magic processing, like resizing, generating the several sizes and blah, blah, blah. And then it gets back to your app and it's done in background job. So it's much easier to manage and it saves you bandwidth and everything. And so I did that like manually, and I would like to generate a gem out of it and hopefully to encourage the usage of it, but that's for later. And at this point, you will have to implement some automated testing also to make sure, like, if you're developing new features, that they are still working, and if some people are developing on a feature and making sure it's not breaking the other one, and all these kind of things. So just a quick step on negative CAPTCHA. This is something I found out which is actually, I think, really smart. So when we started to have data in production, we received a lot of spam in the contact getting in touch page. And this is actually amazing how many we receive. And so we set up this, which is really smart. You have your form, and this form automatically adds another hidden field that you don't see on the screen. And what's happening is that a normal user will only see the normal form with name and email, and it won't fill the hidden field, whereas the robot won't make a difference, and so it will fill this one. So if this one is filled, then it means it's a robot, so you don't want to send the actual mail, whereas if it's not filled, it's a human. And then you have like the experience as if there were no CAPTCHA instead of typing these weird letters and numbers. And then about scaling. So this is actually pretty new, so I don't have so many feedbacks, and I guess you haven't experimented that yet. But so there was a very good article I'm gonna have sent also that recommends to use Fusion Passenger as a web server. So there were many web servers, well, like Fin maybe you've seen, or what was the other one? I can't find it. Unicorn. But now, like, the new trend is to use Fusion Passenger because it's faster for delivering assets, it's safer, and it's really good. Actually, I just trust the one guy who wrote the article. And yeah, so it's really simple to set up. You just have to change your gem for Fusion. We use CDN from CloudFront, so it's Amazon Web Services again, and it's really nice also because basically all your assets that are precompiled, they will be, if you have many people going to your site, you don't want to be sending too many times the JavaScript, the CSS, and all the pictures and blah blah. And so this is like a caching server that is spread all over the world, and it's just sending faster, and it's saving your bandwidth for your app, just sending the results of the actual process data like Rails. And another one we use is Delayed Job and Workless, and it's really good, and I'm gonna talk about it. But some improvements we'll have to do and started to do is to add some indexes in your database, because eventually some query get long, and if you have many data plus many users, then it will slow down the user experience. Also, the memory usage from your app is pretty important, because because there are some memory limits, like Heroku has 1 gigabyte capacity for your app, and then the more user, the more it needs. So you need to optimize this at some point. And another gem that really looked nice is called Dinosaur. I haven't implemented yet, but the idea is that it's plugged to Google Analytics, and it's scaling your worker and your web worker number according to your analytics. So if analytics reports many users at the same time, then it's going to scale up, and if it's like downtime, then it's going to scale down, which is really nice. So about a quick word about Workless. So it's based on delayed job. Delayed job is another really good gem that just sends tasks to the background. So like if you have a method call, like self.generate sizes, it's for pictures. That would be the direct call. Then it means when you send the request, the whole method, the whole process has to be finished before sending a response to your client. Whereas if you just add .delay, it's going to be done in the background, so it's really easy to set up. And the good thing that Workless does, in addition to what delayed job does, is that it's again scaling your Dino. So all the background jobs are like a stack. So first one arrives is being processed, and then all of them. And so when you have a background job, then you have a worker, and then when the stack is empty, the worker goes down to 0, and so you don't spend any more worker on this when you don't need. So it's pretty efficient. Then just mentioning what's going to be the next steps for us. So we probably going to move for more front-end logic. So all this kind of frameworks maybe you heard of, like AngularJS, Backbone.js, and all this kind of thing, which are really nice, but it's not so compatible with Rails because Rails is good for server-side rendering. So you want to, and you don't really want to have both, because then it means you need to have the views both on the server side and on the client side. And like if you use Haml is good on the server side, but it doesn't work on the client side. So all of this makes us having not difficulty, but like we are taking our time to moving to having specific needs for this. But yeah, it's gonna come eventually. And also we're gonna go mobile at some point, so we're gonna have to figure out another stack of technologies. And like there is this Ruby Motion, maybe you heard of. It allows you to create apps like iOS apps by using Ruby. It's a framework, but we could also only go for responsive design and or native apps. So we'll figure out this kind of issue. Then I don't know if you've been recommended already, but you should really subscribe to Ruby Weekly, which is a newsletter that sends you very interesting articles about Ruby, what's going on, new gems, new actuality, and news, and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote some links that I would recommend to read for your personal culture if you're interested. And that's it. So if you have some questions, feel free. And otherwise, I could show you around the app also. So, okay, maybe let's do this. So this is the interface. So there is a public part with traditional pages, nothing extraordinary about it. Then you can log in, sign up. So okay, as you can see, responsive design is sometimes a bit tricky. So let's call us so in the dev environment, we changed the security rules. And yeah. So as I was mentioning, we have a 3-step process for subscribing. So you can choose yours. Okay, I'm gonna go for a free one. Then you fill your personal information. So I come from Mutinerie. I will be happy to host a Copasser. And so I don't know if maybe I should talk about Copass a little also. But so Copass, the idea is to make a network of co-working spaces. Like there are many co-working spaces around the world, but they are not really connected to each other, and usually the people, they subscribe to one co-working space, but then when they're moving around, when they have some needs for moving around, or some people just need many subscriptions, things like that. And so we offer like a single subscription, then you add some credit on your account, and then you can use it in all the co-working space of the network. And that's the state of the network at the moment. So it's a lot in Europe, but it's also in the US and in the rest of the world. And yeah, so basically you can search for spaces. Then when you've done that, so say I want to go to this guy. He hasn't activated his space yet. Okay, let's go for another one. So this is Mutinerie. I see it's gonna cost me 24 euros per day. I can send a request because most of the spaces they like to be told that some people will be coming, and then you can be in touch with the space manager, which is quite nice because he will receive you, he will show you around and all this kind of thing. So I'm gonna come the 19th, okay. And then I send the request. I can send messages to some people, but only to your friends, so you need some friends first, so I can look for me. So I can send a friend request. And we also offer the possibility to host each other on the platform, so you can say if you have registered on Airbnb or Couchsurfing or just by using Copass. So yeah, you can see we have many friends. I want to be friends with Che Guevara, which is a super nice guy. And then, so maybe if I go back, I see that this guy manage space. So first I say I'd like to go, I would be very happy, and then I can send a request to go there. And then if I open a new tab and I sign up and I log in, no. Yeah, I can see that I've got the notifications, which tells me Le Wagon added my space into their wish list. And then Le Wagon wants to be my friend, so I can accept. And also I have a request to answer, so I'd like to go to your space. Sure, you can come. Okay, well, display problem. How can I find it? And so normally we use Pusher to update the pins, but in this case, I don't know, in dev environment it doesn't work well. So you have a friend request, and also this guy accepted your request. And the most important part now is that the guy comes to the co-working space and I need to check in him. So everybody has a card number. The card number is pretty easy. It's your initials and then some numbers that I won't detail. And like most of the spaces, they offer a free day for discovery, so I can check him, the guy. So we wanted the experience of the check-in to be really fast and like just transparent. And so I can check in for a free day, and then that's it. Here I have my my admin panel, which so that I can easily see who came, which money, and blah blah blah. And then you can recommend some spaces, so you receive some mails and all this kind of thing. So that's pretty much the state of Copass at the moment. So now if you want to ask some questions, feel free, otherwise thank you for listening.
Yeah, I have just one question.
Yeah.
Can you suggest some cool gems you have been reading?
Yeah, I mean, I suggested a lot.
Yeah,
but so I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't have. I really selected the most interesting one in the presentation.
How long did it take you to verify?
So we've been starting in last July, and then we were like 2, then 3, then 1, then 2 and 3. So like in average, we were 2 working on it since last July, I'd say. But yeah, so that's exactly what I think you're aware of. Like, Raise is really good to get to something really nice, really fast. But then when you need to make it like secure and scale and like test it and make sure it's working perfectly, it gets harder. So like the learning curve is really like go fast at the beginning, and then there is like a stabilization, and the idea is to still be motivated and to believe into what you're doing, and it can be frustrating for the whole team too, like the other guys that are not developing, like, but there were so many new features I could see every month earlier, and now we're just like slowing down, and I guess it's just normal, but it's kind of frustrating when you're not aware of the technical constraints.